This is Daniella Whyte with Urban Christian News Network. Thank you for joining us on this Monday, February 24th, 2014. Here are the top 10 news stories that you need to know about right now. First today, according to Charisma News, at a news conference in Detroit on Monday, more than 100 pastors and Christian leaders from the city of Detroit and throughout the state of Michigan will join together at First Baptist World Changers Church in Detroit at 10:30 a.m. in support of the Michigan Marriage Amendment that was passed by voters in 2004. The pastors will bring their collective voices in support of traditional marriage between one man and one woman as a federal bench trial, DeBoer versus Snyder, is set to begin in Detroit on Tuesday, which will debate the 2004 Marriage Amendment as well as the state's adoption law. Pastor Linnell Caldwell of First Baptist World Changers Church said we, over 100 pastors and Christian leaders from not only Detroit but across the state of Michigan, want to send a message that there are yet still pastors in the city and the state. In truth, the overwhelming majority of pastors who stand by both our Michigan Constitution and our Judeo-Christian values. He went on to say, we believe that marriage between one man and one woman creates the best possible environment for the health and wellness of children. While we agree that every American has a right to choose to live as he or she wants, no one is entitled to redefine marriage. Second today, according to AFP, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni will sign into law on Monday a controversial bill that will see homosexuals jailed for life despite international pressure, according to a government spokesman. The Ugandan anti-gay bill cruised through Parliament in December after its architects agreed to drop an extremely controversial death penalty clause. Although the bill still says that repeat homosexuals should be jailed for life, outlaws the promotion of homosexuality and requires people to denounce gays. Presidential spokesman Tamale Mirundi told AFP that the president will sign the anti-homosexuality bill today. Museveni, a key African ally of the United States and the European Union, has already been under fire from key Western donors over alleged rampant corruption and had been under pressure from diplomats and rights groups to block the legislation. Fourth today, according to Fox News, the military-backed interim government of Egypt has resigned en masse, the country's interim prime minister said in a televised address on Monday. Hazim el-Bablawi said that the cabinet took a decision to offer its resignation to the president of the republic, but did not give a specific reason for the action. The move was first reported by the state-run newspaper Al-Haram and confirmed to Reuters by an unnamed Egyptian official prior to el-Bablawi's address. The official said that the move was done to clear legal hurdles for Army Chief Field Marshal Abdel Fattah el-Sisi ahead of his declaration of candidacy for Egypt's presidency. The next presidential and parliamentary elections in Egypt are due to take place sometime this year. It was not immediately clear who will replace el-Bablawi, who has often been derided in the media for his perceived indecisiveness and inability to introduce effective remedies to the country's economic woes. Fifth today, according to the Weekly Standard, 4 United States senators have written a letter to FBI Director James Comey about the indictment of author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. Senators Charles Grassley, ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, Jeff Sessions, Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee are the 4 senators, all Republicans, to have signed the letter. The letter quotes Harvard Law School professor Alan Dershowitz as saying, "I can't help but think that D'Souza's politics have something to do with it. It smacks of selective prosecution." And the senators write to dispel this sort of public perception that D'Souza may have been targeted because of his outspoken criticisms of the president. It is important for the FBI to be transparent regarding the precise origin of this investigation. The senators provide a dozen direct questions for the FBI director to answer about the situation. Sixth today, according to Asia News, after a lengthy investigation and trial, the Seoul District Court has sentenced the pastor of the Gospel Yodo Church, one of the best-known Protestant congregations of the South Korean capital, to 3 years in prison and a fine of almost $5 million. The man, David Yonji Cho, was found guilty of defrauding the church of 13.1 billion won, about 9 million euros, and tax evasion amounting to 3.5 billion. His son, Cho Hee-hun, former chairman of the Yeonsan Christian Cultural Center, was also sentenced to 3 years in prison. He was immediately jailed while his father obtained a suspension of 5 years. The case against the pastor and his leadership began in 2013 when, at the request of his son, Pastor Cho's church set aside funds to buy 250,000 shares in the stock market. The shares were quoted at about 35 won each, but they were bought at 87 won, leading to a disbursement paid by the faithful amounting to more than 13 billion. Immediately after the verdict, supporters of the pastor sparked a small riot outside the court, destroying some reporters' cameras. 7 today, according to Gulf News, a leading Christian activist has been elected to steer the helm of Egypt's major liberal constitutional party, becoming the conservative country's first woman to lead a political party. Hala Shukrallah, a development expert, gained 108 of the 203 votes at the first Congress of the Constitution Party, which was established by Egyptian Nobel laureate Mohammed al-Baradi more than a year ago. Hala's closest rival, former TV host Jamila Esmail, got 58 votes in the elections held Friday in Cairo. Educated in Canada and Great Britain, Hala is a major advocate of religious freedom. She has co-founded the non-governmental group, the Egyptian Association Against Religious Discrimination. 8 today, according to Reuters, a female student and a young supermarket worker were the latest fatalities from Venezuela's political unrest, as the death toll from 10 days of violence rose on Saturday to at least 8. Both sides are mourning supporters killed in the worst turmoil since President Nicolas Maduro narrowly won an election in April 2013 to replace the late socialist leader Hugo Chavez. The government blames fascist groups seeking a coup like the one that briefly ousted Chavez 12 years ago, while the opposition is accusing troops and pro-Maduro militants of attacking peaceful demonstrators. 9 today, according to the New York Times, a public outpouring of grief mixed with patriotism whipped through Afghanistan on Monday, a day after 21 Afghan soldiers were shot to death by Taliban insurgents in the eastern province of Kunar. The bodies of the soldiers were laid in state at the military hospital here, draped in the Afghan flag. Defense Minister Bismillah Khan Mohammadi told family members who gathered there on Monday that the uniform your brothers and sons wore were actually their burial shrouds. We will follow their path and defend their blood. In the meantime, people began raising money for the families to supplement the meager 100,000 Afghanis, about $1,800 in U.S. dollars, in death benefits that their families would receive from the government. Amrullah Saleh, a former intelligence chief, announced that he had raised $10,000 in small contributions that he would match personally. 10th and finally today, according to the Boston Globe, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel plans to shrink the Army to its smallest force since before World War II buildup and eliminate an entire class of Air Force attack jets in a spending proposal that officials describe as the first Pentagon budget to aggressively push the military off the war footing adopted after the terror attacks of 2001. The proposal, described by several Pentagon officials on the condition of anonymity in advance of its release on Monday, takes into account the fiscal reality of government austerity and the political reality of a president who pledged to end 2 costly and exhausting land wars. A result, the officials argue, will be a military capable of defeating any adversary, but too small to carry out protracted foreign occupations. The officials acknowledge that budget cuts will impose greater risk on the armed forces if they are again ordered to carry out 2 large-scale military actions at the same time. That's today's top 10 news stories. You may read these stories and more at urbanchristiannewsnetwork.com. As you go throughout this day, keep this word in mind. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." God loves you, He always has, and He always will. He loves you so much that the Bible says in John 3:16, "For God so loved the world, that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life." If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior, why don't you get to know Him today? Just believe in your heart that Jesus Christ died, was buried, and rose by the power of God for you. Pray and ask Him to come into your heart today, and He will. Romans 10:13 says, "For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." Thanks so much for listening. I'm Daniella Whyte with Urban Christian News Network. May God bless your day.